Ladies and gentlemen, prepare yourselves for the first annual Voices from the Vortex Telethon, with tonight's special guest stars, the Doctor, a Cyberman, the two old Daleks, and many more. And now your hosts, Taylor and Matt.
Hello, thank you, and welcome to the first annual telethon for the Voices from the Vortex. This is an exciting podcast as it marks the beginning of a new year. Some new antics just waiting to happen.
That's right, Matt. We have an exceptional year to broadcast about. But...
what's wrong, buddy?
well, the thing is, we don't have the money to make another year. The podcast is over.
It's okay, Taylor, because we have some unexpected help to get the money we need.
We do?
We sure do, and that help is you. All of you at home listening to this podcast, we need your help. Throughout the podcast, you can help us by calling the 1-800 number and pledging your support for the podcast at any time. You can call 1-800-555-TARDIS.
And that number will be up on the screen all night?
Oh, that's right. If you're watching this podcast on YouTube, you can see the running total all night of the pledges we've received and the 1-800 number required to call in.
That's amazing!
Indeed it is, Taylor. Indeed it is.
We're here tonight to try and reach our goal to stay on the air, and we cannot do it alone. We need your help.
That's right. We need to raise 100,000 Time Lord credits just to pay off our debt and keep this podcast going, so we want to be able to count on your support. Our lines are open and operators are standing by to take your pledges.
If you're ready to pledge, give us a call. 1-800-555-TARDIS. That's right, give us a call and pledge whatever you can to help us keep this podcast on the air.
We'll have some pretty exciting guests for you tonight, from famous Time Lords to guest stars from our own podcast, and even a surprise guest at the end of the podcast. So stay tuned and get ready for some exciting podcasting action. Taylor, are you ready?
I was born ready, buddy.
All right, this is it. The first annual Voices from the Vortex Telethon. Into the Vortex! Yeah!
You're listening to Voices from the Vortex, Episode 19, the first annual telethon. Broadcast January 2015.
By way of Gallifrey. Stand by for podcast. This is Voices from Vortex.
Welcome back. Tonight we're hosting the first annual Voices from the Vortex Telethon to help raise the 100,000 credits needed to keep us on air. We need your help. Make sure to call in and pledge your support so that we can remain on the air and continue to bring the amazing programming that we do.
The Red Carpet of Gallifrey event, headline news, TARDIS theater review. These are all some of the amazing programs which we provide, and without your support, they would be lost forever.
You know, some of the shows on GNN are equally as amazing.
Which ones do you love?
My favorite is The Odd Scarrow Couple, a show about two old Daleks living together.
Well, what a surprise! Because we have both of the Daleks here tonight!
We do?
Oh yes, ladies and gentlemen, the two old Daleks!
Oh look, a telethon.
Do you suppose they'll raise enough money to remain on the air?
A Dalek never tells.
If they are to continue to broadcast, they must make the required amount of money.
And if the audience does not comply...
Reiterate.
Did you remember to donate?
I thought you were going to donate.
Only if you give me all of your money. I love those jokes. Hey, remember in Season 2 when they forgot to pay the electric bill?
No. Well, folks, we've had a lot of fun on this podcast, but nothing has been as much fun as bringing you the many adventures with our wonderful TARDIS. which is where we're broadcasting from tonight.
I'm happy to be a part of this spectacle.
TARDIS, what was your role prior to the podcast?
I was the Goodyear blimp.
That's our TARDIS.
If you enjoy these antics, make sure to support our podcast with a donation. Just call 1-800-555-TARDIS and give generously.
You know, I remember when I was...
The lights! But what happened?
The power seems to have cut out.
There it is. Oh, that was weird.
We better check with the director and see what's happening.
And now, the two old Daleks and their comedy routine. Why did the chicken cross the road?
To escape extermination.
Exterminate! 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 Director! What happened? The power to the TARDIS suddenly drained.
Matt, Taylor, good. I'm glad you're alright. It would seem some sort of sabotage has taken place.
Sabotage? Why would someone want to sabotage the podcast?
My question exactly. I've summoned my personal investigator to help determine if the power loss was an isolated incident.
Well, we've got the two Daleks doing stand-up, so we have some time.
Can they hold the audience's attention?
But what was the name of the man on the first base?
What was on second base? You fail in your understanding of the game.
Third base!
They really do earn all the money they make, don't they?
Yeah, but who picks up the money each week?
Every dollar of it.
Okay, enough. I'll have my investigator take a look at the power outage through the console room. You two just keep the telethon going. If you want to keep the broadcasting this year, you'll need to make every dollar count.
Sure thing, Director.
Director, I can't gain access. It seems to be locked out to anyone but these two doofuses.
Matt? Why would you have the console room locked?
Possible invasions and what have you. Taylor, let's go take a look at the console and see what happened to the power outage.
Who will keep the telethon going?
Oh, no problem. We just need a few minutes.
If only we had an interlude which consistently took up 2 minutes of airtime.
Voices from the Vortex is brought to you by
The library, the largest depository for knowledge in the universe. Come see the amazing world of books. Let your imagination carry you across the world.
Warning. The library is not safe. Do not come to the library. This is a warning to everyone. The library has been compromised. Count the shadows. Do not come to the library. 4,022 saved. There are no survivors.
And encounter new adventures in every page. With the patented CAL technology, the resources of an entire world will appear at your fingertips. We are the future. Come join us here at the library. 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 Come join us here at the library.
Dateline Gallifrey. All the news that you need to know. Our top story tonight with The Anchor.
Hello, I'm The Anchor. Our top story tonight: the return of the planet Gallifrey has created a universal buzz as the red carpet was recently rolled out to any and all who would want to visit. This one-night extravaganza played host to some of the universe's most illustrious, most influential, and most iconically evil of all citizens across time and space. In attendance were representatives for the Judu, the Shadow Proclamation, the Slitheen, the Cybermen, and even the ancient enemies for the Time Lords, the Daleks themselves. All those in attendance were able to gaze upon the majesty of the Time Lord Citadel, open for one night to the citizens of the universe. Of course, this comes as a surprise to any and all who have followed the plight of the Time Lords over the past few hundred years. Their ancient civilization, often criticized as stoic observers to the events of history, was recently ravaged and thought destroyed by the Daleks' forces during their last great Time War. But it would appear that a good Time Lord is a living Time Lord, as the only survivor to the Time War was able to bring his people back from destruction. The Doctor, as infamous as he is legend, a renegade Time Lord himself, was able to save Gallifrey in the instant before their destruction and remove them from this reality completely. His acts of heroism have gone unmatched in the universe, leaving many to believe him to be the true heir of the throne of Gallifrey. Among the many marvels revealed during the event, one was a collection of letters. Letters which were written by some of Gallifrey's most infamous children during the last Great Time War. They were on display for all to see and hopefully to learn from. Yes, these were the letters of the men and women who fought during the Time War. These were their stories. These were their sins. Rassilon, current president and possible candidate for the office during this year's election, has reported that the letters will be broadcast to the universe in the coming months in an effort to show that both sides of the war, Daleks and Time Lords alike, were fighting not just for their lives, but for their humanity. Thank you for joining us this day, and for all of us at the GNN, we bid you farewell.
Welcome back. Sometimes we get a little serious on our show. In the past, we've had many a great discussion about the length and depth of our favorite Time Lord, the Doctor.
That's right, Matt. But did you know that he's an exceptional magician?
No, I didn't know that.
That's right. And here with us today to show us the amazing magical tricks he's got up his frilly sleeve is the Doctor.
Well, thank you. I'm glad to be here.
Doctor, what would you say has been your favorite part of the last 2,000 years?
Well, I want to tell you that it's all the traveling through space and time, but the honest truth is, my favorite part has been the magic.
Those are beautiful flowers you just pulled from nowhere.
Well, I do love a good bouquet every now and again.
Tell us, Doctor, were you scared during the Time War?
My dear sir, I would dare to say I was chicken.
Wow! Where'd those chickens come from?
Ah, yes, the age-old question.
I'm a little worried some of these gags won't work without the visual.
Folks, we can keep this shtick up all day. But the truth is, we need your help. Without a donation, this podcast will be shut down.
All you have to do is pick up the phone and dial 1-800-555-TARDIS and pledge your support to keep the podcast on air.
Doctor, what can you show the fine viewing audience at home to entice them to donate?
Something a little wibbly-wobbly, perhaps?
Whew, that segment went well. I was worried there for a minute.
Good thing the Doctor brought that hula hoop.
Hey, Tweedledee and Tweedle, the other guy. What's going on?
Director, sorry. Well, there was a malfunction in one of the main circuits, but we got it back online.
Oh, really?
Yep, nothing to worry about. This telethon is going great.
I see. Well, then you wouldn't mind if I send my investigator to, investigate the issue?
Not at all.
Man, look at him go. That Doctor has some very useful lady hips.
What are you talking about?
Oh, nothing, just admiring the Doctor and his hula hooping skills.
Look, why don't you send the investigator to the engines and check out the problem? Matt can go with him, and I'll take care of the show.
Are you sure?
Matt, when have I ever had trouble with an audience?
All right, man. Good luck, Taylor.
All right, Taylor. You can do this. You've only done this 100 times. You can talk to an audience. The entire podcast is counting on you. Oh, crap. It's counting on me? What if I fail? What if I'm not engaging? What if I'm not funny? Here's a Cyberman singing Oh Danny Boy. Attaboy, Taylor. You earned your dinner tonight.
This is a song in honor and memory of one of our most valiant leaders. Oh, Danny Pink.
Okay, so here we are, the control room. We should be able to find...
You just watch yourself, Time Lord. I've been ordered to ensure you don't do anything suspicious.
Suspicious? Because what? I'm likely to damage my own TARDIS?
I don't know you. I don't know your life.
Fair point. I wonder how Taylor's doing.
bono. Shono bono. Moto moto. Bono bono. Shono mono. Bono bono. Obo so bono 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 bobo.
Oh, wait a minute, hold on. Hello, giant bomb.
What's that? Is that a temporal detonating explosive?
You took the words right out of my mouth.
Director, you better come down here and see this.
Look, we need to find someone who can deal with...
You just stay there until the director gets here.
Investigator, what's happened?
This villain planted a bomb!
Matt? Of all people, I would have expected better from you. Why would you plant a bomb on your own TARDIS?
What? No, I didn't!
Arrest him, and let's go get that friend of his, too. I think it's time this whole farce came to an end.
Uh-oh. Man, I hope we have some sort of segment to cut to so I can figure out what to do next. Now the theater's ready to play the classic episode. Man, this is exciting.
I never get tired of the older doctors.
TARDIS, which is your favorite episode?
All of them, but mostly because my sister is in them.
Good answer.
Alright, TARDIS, let's do this.
Activating theater conditions.
The lights are lowering.
The curtain is opening.
Commencing vid disc playback. Enjoy the feature, boys.
Planet Earth, 1999. He's back, and it's about time.
Who are you?
I am the Doctor! In the fight for eternity.
Midnight, tonight, this planet will be pulled inside out.
There can only be one master.
I never liked this planet, Doctor.
Paul McGann is Doctor Who.
Don't panic! Everything is under control!
With the help of a surgeon named Grace Holloway, the newly regenerated Doctor takes on the Master at the turn of the millennium, 31st of December, 1999. Well, we've made it out of the 80s. Talk about a 90s movie, though.
This surely is a 90s movie. We watched this a while ago, and I'd never seen it before. You were like, I can't believe you've never seen it. I was like, well, I just hadn't got around to it. And I've heard a lot about the Eighth Doctor, a lot about Paul McGann, and I saw him in the Night of the Doctor, which was cool. That was kind of actually my first time seeing him. But I know he'd done all these audiobooks and stuff, but I never really saw the first thing. And this was it, and I enjoyed it. I thought it was great.
It really, it is. It's a lot of people talk to me about New Who, and they say, where does New Who, if I'm going to watch Doctor Who, should I watch New Who? Should I watch Old Who? And I always tell people, you can start with New Who, start with Eccleston, 2005 on, and you're fine. But you could even go back to this movie. People who are watching the show say, this is really great. They can go back to this movie and watch this and say, well, this is sort of the beginning of New Who. It was just a decade taken out of time.
Yeah, there was a little weird, sort of weird history surrounding this movie.
You talk about weird history. Well, the thing is, Doctor Who was canceled in 1986. So we don't get any new Doctor Who until 1996. So 10 years pass, and then we get this made-for-TV movie. And is it made by the BBC? No, it's made by Fox. It's made by Fox for an American audience, as an American made-for-TV movie. And it's an American production company in association with the BBC, using the same characters. Obviously, the Eighth Doctor, Paul McGann, we get a regeneration sequence. So we get the Eighth Doctor's Paul McGann, who's chosen specifically for this role. But that it came from Sylvester McCoy. He starts it. Sylvester McCoy, the Seventh Doctor's in the TARDIS, and he's there. And so it is a continuation 10 years later. But yeah, it was made by an American company, Fox, for an American audience. And then it was broadcast at the exact wrong date you should ever broadcast something. Like, literally, this entire show would have taken off if it wasn't for the fact they put it on TV up against the most watched television episode of a show since MASH went off the air. It went up against the series finale of Roseanne. That was it.
Yep.
There was no hope. It did not get ratings, and so they cut it.
Which is a shame, and we never saw it again. And McGann went on to do lots of other things. He did all these audiobooks and everything, which is great.
God.
And he was basically
doctors.
He's basically done more stuff than any of the other doctors combined, if you count all those. Which is funny because in the Night of the Doctor, Moffat kind of made a lot of that book stuff canon a little bit,
did,
which was fun. But yeah, so I enjoyed Paul McGann. I thought he was great. It's not that we haven't had a young Doctor before, but this was kind of different. You'd had Davison and I guess Baker was kind of young, and then you had Sylvester McCoy, who was a little older,
right?
And so then you went back to young, and this was almost like the youngest, probably.
Davidson still by age was the youngest, but this was the first time we had seen a vibrant young Doctor since Davidson. Colin Baker didn't play the role like Davidson did. He played it a little more arrogant, a little more stuffy, a little older. And Sylvester McCoy, while being much more physical with the role than others, was still a much older actor. So when we get this guy, you're right. I mean, we got a Doctor that wasn't just young and wasn't just invigorated, but my God, he had the kiss scene around the world. The first time the Doctor ever kisses a companion, ever shows interest in another human being romantically, that was Paul McGann.
Yep. And that was the American thing too. They had to throw that in there. And that could have another reason why this movie was very Americanized.
Well, they picked the right villain for it.
They did, because we also have the Master.
The Master,
which is great.
Last scene in the last episode of the actual BBC series.
Yeah, played by Eric Roberts. And I guess the story is the Master had been exterminated on Skaro.
He was put on trial for his crimes, and the Time Lords let the Daleks run the trial.
Yeah, and they exterminated him, and the Doctor was taking his ashes or whatever, his remains, back to Gallifrey.
And of course he gets out.
Of course he gets. The Master never dies. He sort of turns into this little snaky thing. I don't know, snake goo, amorphous blob snake thing.
Yeah, that's not very well explained. It's just sort of happened.
Yeah,
like, hey,
there's
what are we gonna do? Snake?
CGI snake thing? Sure, okay.
1996 CGI snake?
And then he leaps down a dude's throat and becomes that dude.
He did. Well, the Master had been for many years taking over the body of other people.
Mm-hmm.
And I know you haven't seen it all yet, but the Master was thought dead, and when we see him again, he was basically a charred husk on Gallifrey, and we thought he died there. And the next time we see him, he had taken over the body of Tremis, who was the king of Traken, which was also Nissa's father. So he took someone else's body and made it his own. So he had stolen a body before. So this was just his way of surviving.
Mm-hmm. And he basically... This story is interesting to me because it's like the Master's in the Doctor's TARDIS, he's got the TARDIS basically, and he's like opening the Eye of Harmony, and he's got this kid helping him out, and he's got this whole big plan. But a lot of it just takes place in the TARDIS, which was neat.
Well, and it does, and that's probably a good thing because my God, that was a gorgeous TARDIS.
Oh yeah, it really was. If you look at the old TARDIS, it pretty much stayed the same until this, and you think, oh, it looks different with Eccleston and Tennant. This was the first one where it jumped to a crazy different type of TARDIS interior.
Oh, very much so. It's very steampunk, which is something we wouldn't really see as a medium for another decade or so in other things.
Yeah,
this was sort of the first real steampunk action, so to speak.
Yeah. Victorian,
Very
like
Victorian.
lots of like an armchair and stuff. And I think the fun thing about that too is that was the Seventh Doctor's choice. The Seventh Doctor, he decided, I'm going to change it up a little bit. It wasn't like it wasn't like new Doctor, new TARDIS. Yeah, it was Seventh Doctor just decided one day. I wonder what happened there. Ace is gone. Ace is gone. He decides, I'll do what I want.
Whatevs. I don't care. And one of I'm just going to mention this here, one of my favorite references is he was eating jelly babies.
Yes.
I just thought that was the best.
Yes, they did. They had a lot of references in this one. It was like one of those. It was like, hey, remember, it's Doctor Who. They had to.
It's just the Eye of Harmony. I know we've mentioned this before. And, hey, let's have some Gallifreyan symbols for you, just for giggles.
Yeah.
Well, now the episode itself is really great. The story is pretty classic Doctor Who. That at midnight, at exactly December 31st, 1999, turning into 2000, that the TARDIS might accidentally destroy the Earth, and the Master's trying to get into it, and so he can steal the Doctor's lives and everything. But it did present a new piece of mythos to the Doctor Who universe, and it's something that's been ignored up until lately. It's sort of an offhanded comment that he makes. It's not offhanded, it's a joke he makes, but where he says he's got a great secret and that he's half human. It's on his mother's side. And, that's something that for years and years and years, Doctor Who fans just sort of ignored, like, whatever. That was Fox. Who cares?
It can't be.
Right, exactly. But what's interesting is that actually follows a part of the Andrew Cartmel plan. The idea that they were introducing new darker aspects of the Doctor, and that there was sort of a story, which was called Lungbarrow. It's a book you can read, which isn't canon. We don't really consider it canon because it's not televised. But it was definitely something Moffat has read, and you can see a lot of from Lungbarrow and his work. But it talked about who the Doctor was, where he comes from, and then in his family, he was half human on his mother's side. That a Gallifreyan wedded with a human woman, and he was the child that was produced. And his DNA comes from the other, one of the three key, crucial members of creating Gallifreyan society. So it's interesting that this got televised, and then everyone kind of like, no, they denounce it. No, we're not going to, even though we've been reading these books for the last 10 years, no, we're going to denounce it. These new Doctor Who adventures don't matter. Who cares? We have a Fox show now. I like it. I think it makes a lot of sense that he is human. It means he can't control his regenerations. It means he wasn't really good at going to the academy. Maybe this proves a lot about the Doctor.
Well, and a lot of it too is like, he's different from the rest of the Time Lords. He thinks differently, and maybe this is why. It's the sort of the human, I don't know, maybe the human compassion mixed in with the Time Lord intelligence.
Yeah,
that sort of makes him who he is, and so
it's very true.
I think it's a great idea. I don't think it would ruin anything if it turned out to be true. So
I feel like we're gearing up for that revelation. We've got now, especially, we know that when he was a young kid, that he was not very well liked, and that he was sort of convinced to be more than what he is by Clara as a young kid, but he refused to sleep with the other boys. He refused to come into the house. And maybe that's a part of it, because he was half human.
Well, and Moffat has sort of had that. He sort of had a couple interviews where he's like, where does it say that he's not?
Right.
Somebody come up with that answer. And
right. Well, there's that. That's the thing: is who are the Gallifreyans? We know that they were created. We know that they were a race that was altered and adjusted by Omega and by Rassilon and by the other. We know that they are from Gallifrey, but that doesn't mean that they can't be a long-lost human tribe. It doesn't mean that they weren't humans who spanned the galaxy.
Yeah.
And it doesn't mean that they couldn't... Yeah, the Doctor's father, whoever it was, couldn't have just taken a human bride and had a kid.
Yeah. He's Hercules.
We don't know. Huh? Yeah.
He's Hercules.
Hercules. Yeah, well, no, it's very true.
Well, let's see. A couple things. One thing I thought was interesting, and I read this somewhere, and I don't remember where, but is because of this movie, and because it didn't do so well, a lot of Doctor Who fans maybe at the time were like, I don't really think this counted. Even though Sylvester McCoy was in it, maybe it didn't count. And so when the new Who came, there was maybe a lot of confusion because they never said, like, hey, I'm the Ninth Doctor. He never really said that out loud. So there was a lot of confusion there, like, is he the Eighth Doctor, or are we having McGann in here too? And people were like, no, McGann counts, and but there were still some people who were like, I don't know. And it wasn't until maybe like season 3 where Tennant's got I think it's Human Nature when he's human, and he's got the diary of impossible things that he's been journaling and drawing in, and we see McGann is drawn in the journal, and that kind of solidified it for sure. Like, if there were any doubts, he's the 8th Doctor, it counts, so it's 8, 9, 10, there you go. So,
well, and
then Moffat screws that all up with the War Doctor.
Says, nah, you're all wrong.
You're all wrong.
Tennant regenerated twice, go to hell. Well, and that's interesting too. That's actually very interesting. I don't think there was any doubt that this was canon. It's just when New Who started, they made such a deal about going in a new direction, and that's fine. New Who has been phenomenal because of that. I think there was a lot of questions of how much of Classic Who is canon to New Who. Every time. Yeah. I as a Doctor Who fan myself, I just took it for granted. I said, it's all canon. Who cares? I read the books, they're canon. I don't care. It's all Doctor Who. I read a comic book of Doctor Who, it's canon, because it's a comic book. Yes, there was a shape-shifting detective who was a penguin who traveled around with Colin Baker for quite a while. That happened. Shut up. It happened.
Of course.
Naturally. But, I mean, I don't think at any point in time there were people saying it didn't happen. I know that the line, I'm half human on my mother's side, I know that has largely been regarded as erroneous. People saying, well, he didn't mean to say it. Post-regeneration, he would have said anything. He was lying to get Grace's favor. The plot that he was half human, and that's why he could open the Eye of Harmony. But wait, didn't the Time Lords build the Eye of Harmony? So any Time Lord could have opened it. The Master's probably just coming up with some BS reason why he was impotent enough to open it. I mean, there's a lot of question of that line. And I know a lot of that, because that line is there, a lot of people look at it and say, well, it wasn't the show, so we're not going to care. And it was just one adventure, so who cares? But you're right, once you see him in the journal, once it's kind of, that was one of his lives, everyone takes a step back and goes, well, okay, it happened, the lines happened, that adventure happened.
Yeah.
We'll accept it, and we're going to move on with it. And then definitely when we get the Night of the Doctor, right before the Time Warp, right before the 50th, yes, very much so. Now we know what happened. Now we know he was the Doctor. And more importantly, we know how big of an impact he had on how he would be after the Time War. So, I mean, that's an important thing to note. I don't know if it was necessarily the episode or the whole story wasn't
well, this one's kind of a weird one, because it's not technically Classic Who, it's not technically New Who, it's just out there in the middle. And so, it was kind of weird. I think for a while it was kind of weird.
Well, and a lot of people didn't know about it. Even huge fans of the old show didn't watch it,
Yeah.
Because they didn't. It had been 10 years since Doctor Who was on. They had all grown up and moved on to other things. And then when New Who came out and they started watching that, they kept thinking, oh, okay, well, new Doctor Who. And they start watching that. They just forget that movie even existed. It's not on Netflix. It's not on Hulu. It is on DVD, but it's kind of hard to find. I think it's out of print. So a lot of people go, it's not here. It didn't happen. But it did, folks. It happened, and I'll tell you what, it's worth watching.
It is. I would definitely recommend this to people to watch. Final thoughts on this episode?
I'll tell you what, it is an excellent entry to the series. This could have been considered the beginning of the New Who series. It is always one of the things that I recommend to people once they get started watching, once they get to Tennant. Hey, go back and watch this. Just kind of get a sense of both the old and new together. It's a must-see for anyone who loves the new show.
Oh, yeah. It's a pity that it didn't take off. We would have had a series, an whole series. Who knew what could have happened after that, with the with New Who after this, but I would love to have seen more Paul McGann just in action, like actually on screen. He was great in that little prequel that they did, and he was great in this movie. And it's a shame that most of his stuff is just his voice, stuff like that. So, I kind of wonder what we saw 60s Doctor Who, we saw 70s Doctor Who, we saw 80s Doctor Who. And then we had this New Who, and I have to wonder what 90s Doctor Who would have been like. We have the one episode, but like, what would the rest of it have been like? A TV thing in the 90s, would have been like Power Rangers or something, like those kinds of special effects and things like that, would be great to see. So, it's a shame.
Calculating. Voices from the Vortex gives Doctor Who, The Envy Within, 7 out of 10.
On the TARDIS, near the end of the podcast, when no one can speak falsely or fail to answer, a question will be asked. A fan question!
Welcome to the fan question section of the podcast. This is the part of the podcast where what we do is we answer your fan questions. You send us the questions of the things that are burning in your mind, things you want to know from the two dudes of Gallifrey. And what do? Why, we answer them, of course. Taylor, what is this month's question from a fan?
Today's fan question comes from Brad T. of Manchester, Missouri. He writes, if the Doctor is so good at traveling through time and space, how come he can't go back to his home planet? What's stopping him?
That's a very good question.
It is a very good question, and they haven't quite answered it yet.
Yeah, well,
but
they've kind of given
you can
us
kind of infer. You can kind of infer with things
a
that
sense
they've.
Of why.
Yes.
Him going back to during the Time War, he can't because it's Time War. All that time for the planet, is Time War, and it's sort of implied that the Doctor and any Time Lord, they don't go back within their own time stream. You can't be there at the same time as you were already there. And for a very long time, the Doctor was run out of Gallifrey, right? He had run away, so he probably doesn't go back, because any time he goes back to would be a paradoxal time, or just a time he wouldn't want to go back, where he'd be hated and run out by his own people.
Yeah, so you had the Time War, and then we've got this thing in Season 8. They finally did this thing where they went to Gallifrey somehow, and Clara was there. She was under his bed when he was a kid. And so he went there, but she says, don't go out there. No matter what you do, don't go out there. And, how did that happen? Is the question there.
Well, and that was supposed to be within Clara's time stream. How the heck did she get there?
Right. So because of the Time War, it's wibbly wobbly, but you can't go back to Gallifrey because of the Time War, and the planet was time locked, and it's still gone in an alternate universe at the moment.
Right. So realistically, you have to be at Gallifrey in the present. You can't go through time to different time zones of Gallifrey. You can only go back to when the now of you is, if that makes sense. And he can't because it's lost right now.
Yep.
And the future isn't written, so we can't go there in the future.
Nope. So
there you go.
He's not that good at traveling through time and space.
And to be fair,
anyway.
The TARDIS doesn't ever go where he wants it to go. It just kind of goes wherever it wants to go. It's on its own. So
exactly.
It's probably like, nah, I'm cool. I'm chill. I don't need to be in Gallifrey. Whatever.
Although I will say Capaldi seems to be pretty good at, going from certain points. There hasn't been quite a point where he's, accidentally gone somewhere.
I agree.
Yeah. He's been pretty good about going where he needs to go. So, maybe he's getting better. Who knows?
So, Brad, I hope that answers your question.
Thanks for asking.
And there you have it, the wonderful fan question section of the podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, you have heard it here first. The two dudes from Gallifrey answering all of your burning questions. We'll see you next time. Yay!
This is ridiculous, Director. Matt could no more be the one behind that bomb than myself, or even you. He's the one who came up with the idea of a telethon.
I don't care. He was found at the scene of the sabotage, and the bomb parts all came from his personal stock of requisitions.
Director, the bomb is going to go off in a matter of minutes. I didn't put it together, but I can stop it.
Okay, only a bomb maker would know how to stop a bomb like that.
Unless you were the guy at the academy who taught how to defuse bombs.
What?
Didn't you know about his service at the academy?
I was the senior professor on bomb disposal. I went to Special Forces Academy. I was trained for exactly this sort of thing.
Is that true? I never knew.
No, come on. No, it's not true. I watched a ridiculous amount of A-Team episodes back in college. But I've studied these sorts of destructive machines before, and I can do this. You have to trust me.
That still doesn't explain how all the pieces to the bomb were requisitioned in your name.
Unless someone's trying to frame me.
Yeah, Matt has never done anything to hurt the Time Lords or our podcast. He wouldn't have done this.
I suppose it is possible someone else might have done this.
You have to let me help.
Okay, I don't have to do anything.
Director, if you don't, everyone on board this TARDIS will die. You have to let Matt try and defuse the bomb.
Please, Director, if not for yourself, then for every single person on this TARDIS who was invited, let me save them. And let me save this telethon.
Fine. Alright, do it. Guards, let him go.
Excellent! Thanks, Director!
Alright, buddy, what do you need?
Alright, I'm gonna need my sonic screwdriver.
You got it.
Next, I'm gonna need about 10 meters of wire.
On it. Here you go.
Great. Taylor, you take the end of this wire and hook it up to the plasma generator and the auxiliary control node.
No problem.
What can I do?
Alright, I need you to get everyone into the theater. If this works, I'll be able to set off the bomb, but dislocate the explosion to another section of the TARDIS. The theater is designed to shield anyone inside from the most amount of destruction. That's the only safe place on the TARDIS.
Alright, now what?
Taylor, get into the theater with the audience members and close the doors.
But what about you?
I have to stay here and manually move the explosion.
No! Matt, you'll die!
I don't think I will, buddy. There isn't time to explain. Just go!
Everyone is in here, Matt. Whatever it is you're gonna do, you can do it.
Alright, I'm timing this to work with the countdown. At the last possible moment, the explosion will be shifted out of our time stream and into another portion of the TARDIS. Counting down in 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4,
3,
2,
1. Did it work?
Yeah, I think it did. Hey, we're safe! Taylor, oh man, am I glad to see you.
Hey, buddy. I'm proud of you.
Well, it's all about being clever. See, I knew the TARDIS would automatically create a stasis field around the explosion. It is a safety measure, after all. If there's something which would destroy the configuration of the TARDIS, it's contained.
So where did it go?
I have no idea. Some other time and place in our time stream. Probably a very plot-specific moment. You know, when it's needed.
Convenient.
Matt, you've saved the day. Well, I'm actually surprised.
Don't be. Back at the academy, Matt was the top of his class in temporal Deus Ex Machina.
Hey, some people got it, some people don't.
Well, whatever it is you have, I saved everyone on board this TARDIS, including myself. So, thank you.
Anytime, boss. Anytime.
Hey, Matt. Look! The pledges! We made it! We hit 100,000 credits!
And that's awesome! See, Director, I knew we could do it!
Yeah, it appears so.
Does this mean... do we get to keep podcasting?
Does it? Does it?
Well, I suppose. The deal is the deal.
Yay! Taylor, old buddy, looks like we have one more year of podcasting to do.
I'm so excited! I cannot wait!
And to all the audience members at home, thank you. Thank you so much for your pledges and your generosity. It's been a wonderful ride up until now, and I cannot wait to see what we've got in store for you down the road.
Till next time, everyone. See you in the Vortex!
To the Vortex! Voices from the Vortex is a fan podcast created by Matthew Whitecamp and Taylor Davidson. Starring Matthew Whitecamp as Matt from Gallifrey, Taylor Davidson as Taylor from Gallifrey, and Danielle Davidson as the voice of the TARDIS. Music arranged by Murray Gold for the BBC. Doctor Who and all related material is copyright BBC. No infringement on rights intended. Use of material is for satirical purposes and is not intended to be canon. As always, a huge thanks to the BBC and Doctor Who for inspiring us, entertaining us, and giving us one more thing in life which kicks massive ass. Make sure to follow our podcast on broadcastgallifrey.com or check us out on all of our social media pages: Facebook, Google+, Twitter, Tumblr, and of course YouTube. Thanks for listening. We'll see you again in the Vortex.
Meanwhile, on an asteroid very far away.
Did you bring it?
Yes. This is the Temporal Quantum Entanglement Motivator. I pulled it out of their TARDIS during the telethon.
And no one knew that it was you all along. You, the director of Gallifrey, who sabotaged the control panel.
No, I did exactly like you instructed.
Good. Very good.
I have no clue what you plan to use this for. However, this fulfills my end of our agreement. You release my family and leave us alone?
Yes, Director. I'll be happy to do that.
Okay then. Good.
Oh, there's just one more thing, Director.
What?
No one tells the Master when he's through with them. Ha 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 ha.